Alright, look. When you think of Nepal, what comes to mind? Probably Mount Everest, right? Maybe some serene monasteries, a dude in a North Face jacket who just found himself. For years, that's been the brand. But right now, something else is climbing to the peak. And it's not a tourist with an oxygen tank. It's Nepal's Gen Z, and they are pissed. All across the country, from the bustling streets of Kathmandu to the digital highways of Instagram, young people are rising up. They're trading their Momo-making tutorials and dance challenges for something a little more revolutionary. This isn't your parents' protest with grainy photos and dusty slogans. This is a full-blown 4K viral on TikTok movement. And you gotta ask, why now? What could possibly make a generation, often stereotyped as being glued to their screens, take to the actual physical streets? Well, it turns out that while they were scrolling, they were also watching. So let's get into the nitty-gritty, the deep dive, the why behind the what. The biggest monster under the bed for Nepali youth is a three-headed beast: unemployment, underemployment, the soul-crushing pressure to leave the country. Every year, nearly 500,000 young Nepalese enter the job market. You'd think that would be exciting, right? Fresh talent, new ideas. But it's more like the world's most depressing episode of the Hunger Games. There are simply not enough jobs. The official youth unemployment rate is hovering around a scary 20%. Everyone on the ground will tell you the real number is way, way higher. It's a crisis of epic proportions. People with master's degrees in engineering driving for ride-sharing apps. Not as a cool side hustle, but because it's the only hustle available. This creates a phenomenon called brain waste. Imagine spending years and a fortune on your education, acing your exams, only to find the best-paying gig is serving lattes to tourists. It's not just an economic problem, it's a psychological beatdown. It tells an entire generation that their ambitions are worthless. And what happens when your own country basically puts up a closed-for-business sign on your future? You leave. This is the great Nepali exodus. Every massive fire starts with a tiny spark. For Nepal's Gen Z, that spark wasn't a political speech. It wasn't a dramatic event. It was a series of corruption scandals. It felt like a personal insult. In early 2025, news broke about embezzlement of public funds. This time, the money was for youth employment programs. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a kukuri. Those funds vanished into the pockets of a few well-connected elites. For a generation already on edge, this was the final push. The reaction wasn't a press conference. It was a tweet, then a Facebook post, then an Instagram story. A 22-year-old graphic designer in Patan, Anjali, posted a simple graphic on Instagram. It read, Ab Ati Bio, on a stark black background. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't poetic, it was raw. She added, enough is enough Nepal. The post was shared hundreds of times, then thousands. By morning it was everywhere. It became the digital rallying cry for a generation fed up with being ignored. The spark of enough is enough Nepal had ignited a digital wildfire, about to spill into the real world. So, you have a viral hashtag and a fired-up Facebook group. Now what? You take it offline, but this is where Nepal's Gen Z showed their true organizational genius. They understood that 1 million likes don't equal change. You need bodies on the street. The first protest was organized for a Saturday at Maitiga Mandala, a popular protest site in Kathmandu. The call to action spread through Instagram stories, Viber messages. The message was simple. Wear black, be peaceful, bring your voice. The first gathering was bigger than anyone expected. Hundreds of young people showed up. Students, young professionals. It was a protest unlike any Nepal had seen before. No political party flags. No paid protesters bussed in from villages. Instead, handmade signs with clever slogans. Our government is a bigger scam than my ex. I have more future plans on my Pinterest board than my country has for me. Humor made their dissent impossible to ignore and easy to share. They turned Kathmandu's streets into a live, interactive, decentralized newsfeed for their revolution. Okay, so they're mad, they're organized, and they have killer signs. But what do they actually want? Is this just a bunch of angry kids venting, or is there a plan? Oh, there's a plan. Their demands are specific, targeted, and surprisingly pragmatic. Crowdsourced via online forums and Google Docs, they compiled a clear playbook. It breaks into 3 categories: accountability, reform, opportunity. Accountability. Their number one demand. A full, transparent, independent investigation is demanded, especially into the Youth Employment Fund scandal. They want prosecution and jail time for the guilty and a new anti-corruption body with real teeth, insulated from politics. Reform. The long game. They want systemic change. Civil service reform and transparent public procurement. Merit-based hiring, not nepotism. Finally, and most personally, they demand opportunity. They are calling on the government to create a real, viable national strategy for youth employment. It's a powerful, constructive vision for a new Nepal. To really get this, you have to hear from the people themselves. These aren't professional activists. They are students, coders, baristas, recent graduates who became leaders overnight. I talked to a few of them, slid into their DMs, and their stories are the heart of this movement. Meet Samir, a 24-year-old software engineer who helps run the movement's main social media accounts. He told me, for my parents' generation, politics was a spectator sport. You'd complain about it over tea, but you'd never get involved. We're different. We see a broken system, and as an engineer, my first instinct is to try and fix it. Our code is hashtags. Our platform is the street. Then there's 19-year-old Sabina, a first-year university student. She designed some of the most viral protest signs. She said, "I was never political before this. I was scared. But I saw my older brother, who has a master's degree, apply for a labor job in Dubai. That broke me. I realized that if we don't speak up now, that will be my future too. Making these signs is my way of fighting. A funny sign can be more powerful than an angry speech because it makes people stop, think, and share. It's our way of being heard in a world that doesn't listen to young people." So, you have a massive, youth-led protest movement blowing up online and on the streets. How does the government, a body largely composed of men in their 60s and 70s, react? At first, their response was classic political dad mode. They ignored it. They thought it was a fad. Kids who'd go back to video games. For the first few days, there was complete silence from the Prime Minister's office and other major political figures. It was the political equivalent of leaving them on read. When ignoring them didn't work, they moved to phase 2, dismiss, downplay. Government spokespeople and party loyalists went on television and social media and labeled protesters as directionless agents of foreign forces and spoiled city kids. This backfired spectacularly. Every dismissive comment was screenshotted and turned into a meme that dragged more people onto the streets. The government was playing checkers, while the youth played four-dimensional chess. As protests grew and hit international headlines, the government shifted gears to phase 3, form a committee. The government's arc from ignorance to intimidation proved the protesters' point. The system is broken and out of touch. At its core, this whole conflict is a massive generational showdown. It's a clash between two completely different Nepals. On one side, you have the old guard, the political leadership. These are the men who have dominated Nepali politics for the last 30 years. Their entire political careers were forged in a pre-internet era of street agitations, party politics, backroom deals. They see the world through a lens of ideology, party loyalty, a rigid hierarchical structure. On the other side, you have the new blood, Gen Z. This is a generation that has never known a world without the internet. They grew up in a globalized, digitally connected Nepal. Their worldview isn't shaped by party pamphlets. It's shaped by YouTube tutorials, global news feeds, online communities. They don't care about the political battles of the 1990s. They care about efficiency, transparency, results. They see the government not as a sacred institution to be revered, but as a service provider that is failing to deliver. Their currency is information. Their source of power is the network. This fundamental difference in worldview explains why they are constantly talking past each other. This isn't just a policy disagreement, it's a collision of two separate realities. So what happens now? What's the end game? Let's be real, this isn't a movie. The government isn't going to suddenly resign, and Nepal isn't going to transform into Switzerland overnight. The road ahead is long and difficult. The most likely immediate outcome is a stalemate. The government will likely make a few cosmetic changes, prosecute a few low-level officials, and hope that the movement loses momentum. They're betting on the protesters getting tired and going home, especially as monsoon season starts. They're playing the waiting game. But the real victory of this movement might not be in the immediate policy wins. The true victory is the awakening. This protest has fundamentally changed the political consciousness of an entire generation. These young people now know their own power. They've built networks, learned how to organize, and found their collective voice. They won't just go home. They might leave the streets for now, but they will remain a powerful, connected, and watchful force online. They have created a permanent pressure group that the government can no longer afford to ignore. The kids are awake, they're connected, and they are just getting started. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel for more stories like this.